Maybe it's not. Maybe
No.
it's Maybelline. Who knows?
Maybe. How?
Anyways, welcome everybody to Overreaction Monday. Finally, we were running a bit late from all of our travels. Him getting back to Houston, me getting back to Louisville, and then of course we're like, all right, just half an hour. It's fine. It's fine. And then all hell breaks loose, and the internet decides, hey, you know what? What if it just didn't work? That thing that you pay for. What if it just didn't work?
You know, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, Zach, but I told one of the big internet providers here in Houston, I was like, I know just from talking to my son that if you had a product that you could say was absolutely reliable and was available at a certain rate and it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't drop off as more people came on, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
he has the available cash. He would pay you for that.
I'd
So
pay through the nose for it. Let me tell you.
yeah,
Goodness
so
gracious.
we're happy to be here. What a weekend! It was crazy
Oh,
trip.
what a weekend.
We'll get to games and we'll get to how Clutch played. Overreaction Monday, Game 5. It's like ripping off a bandage. We'll get to it. I swear. But man, what a weekend! First of all, it was college move-in week for me. So I was in Louisville. We did our podcast in Louisville, our audio podcast, and then today I was traveling back, and so I just got off a plane like an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
So I'm still unpacking. Although I did unpack my new hat you got me in Detroit,
Oh,
and I got
yeah.
it. It looks pretty darn good.
It's a good hat, and it's a really nice sweatshirt as well, let me tell you.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Uh,
you have your Dignitas sweatshirt on. So
yeah,
yeah,
the new jersey has not come in the mail just yet. I told everybody up there, it's coming, it's in the mail. Mailman hates me. I
exactly.
don't know if that's entirely true, but it certainly seems like it. But I gotta tell you, man, they were sold out of the Clutch Gaming Dignitas Special Edition jerseys. Sold out down to a single small by the time that I got there, which is around 2 o'clock on Saturday.
On
So
Saturday. Yeah.
they were sold out fast, very
So
fast.
tell me your initial thoughts or kind of your overview. We'll get into game stuff, but what did you think of Detroit and what did you think of the summer finals? Tell me what you thought about going up to Detroit.
I gotta say, man, the energy there in the crowd was incredible. Not to mention the fact that the Little Caesars Arena was really, really a great venue. The space they had up on the side for the LCS tailgate, all the teams were there. It wasn't just teams participating in the weekend, everybody had a tent.
Good.
It was really, really great. Rocket Mortgage, of course, had their own tent as the primary sponsor. And then, there was also an arcade. Now, the line of the arcade was way too long, so I never got in. But
Right. Right.
having it just a random arcade set up there in the middle, that's pretty legit. That's pretty
You know
great.
what? You sent back some pictures and we talked. Now I wasn't able to make it, but we talked all weekend long while you were up there. And I got to tell you, man, you just from your comments and everything, you love the arena,
Mm-hmm.
Little Caesars Arena there in Detroit. And Detroit is one of those cities that gets a bad rap, and everybody talks about, oh, the crumbling Detroit or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
it's really coming back in some areas, and you got
It
to give them
is.
credit hosting the summer finals.
Yeah, you can really feel that. There are certain places that you drive by and you're like, oh, wow, this is still in need of some love, in need of some help here. Uh, but honestly, Detroit as a whole is really coming back. I had the best chicken sandwich I've ever had there.
Is it a Popeyes? Is
No, I
Popeyes?
wasn't.
Okay.
I hang on. I gotta have to look up the name of this because it was absolutely perfect. A little bit of ranch. There was some, I believe, hot honey dressing. It was just the best that I've ever had. And
So somebody just said, "Tell us about the biscuit."
oh yeah,
Zach.
and the biscuit. I was with Stan from Talk SM as well, and he's the one who actually found it. He unfortunately, when he ordered his sandwich, they put the wrong kind of chicken because they use real chicken. Surprise, surprise. So he got some dark meat that had a bone in it, which is what they're supposed to use for their buckets instead of what they use. Or sorry, their baskets. Gotta be on brand here. It's a basket.
Yeah.
So they use that for their baskets instead of the sandwich. accidentally got put on a sandwich. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So they brought out a fresh sandwich with biscuits. Yeah.
And
Honey butter biscuits melt
yeah.
in your mouth.
Zach
Whew,
called me and said, "You the biscuits." I was like, so
you gotta come there. One of these days, I'll have to take you back there.
yeah.
And this
But I don't,
was
but I just some of the 100 Talk just says this has turned into food pod. Yeah, it has. It really has. And he says, "Oh,
hey,
talk
if you guys have been there,
and league leaders." What's
I would have
that?
been happy to meet up with the 100 Talk guys. I would love to meet up with them in person.
Yeah,
But as far as I know, you guys weren't there. And if you were, then why weren't you telling me you were there? That's all I'm saying.
All right, let's jump into a little game coverage. Do you want
Sorry,
to
one
start
second.
with-
1 second. I did not actually give the name of this place. It is Penny Red's Damn Fine Chicken. And let me tell you, it was damn fine.
Penny Red's damn. All right, if you're in Detroit, look for Penny Red's Damn Fine Chicken.
And get the bottled Vernors too. You can't go wrong with bottled Vernors.
So it's highly recommended by Zachary there.
Yeah.
All right, can we jump into some game action? Do you want to start with Clutch, or do you want to start with the finals? 100 Talk just said, "Hey, our team didn't make it." Okay,
Yeah,
all
no,
right,
That's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's all right.
You want to start with, because both of them had really interesting game fives, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Along with the other stuff, but let's start with Clutch. We'll get to the finals in a second, but Clutch is the
here for
Dignitas. I mean, that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what you thought of the Clutch performance this weekend.
I thought that it was really great in the first two games. You saw their characteristic aggression. CLG didn't really play the first two games, and that's the thing that kind of really bothers me about them. Is I feel like they were sort of non-games in the same way that game 5 was a non-game for us, where our players were just sort of out of it by the end of that series. But I gotta say, I'm really confused by the priority around Zaya. She was banned away in both of our red side games, and it's not that we can't play it exactly, because I know we have in the past, but there just seems to be this like super high priority on Zaya, and it's like one of the games where we got Sivir and they had Zaya, it was a pretty even stalemate, and in the games that we lost where we let Zaya through, Zaya was never really the issue. So I'm wondering why there's still such a huge priority. We had this against Liquid as well. Why there's such a huge Zaya priority. And of course it could be scrim knowledge, something like that. From the outside, I'm not seeing it.
Right. It doesn't make sense at this point. Yeah.
And from there, that's kind of where our problems started. Because game 3,
Can we hang on a second, though? Let me ask you to dive in a little bit. You said the first two feel like that CLG played or engaged. Mm-hmm. See, I thought they did, but I thought just like with the matchup with Liquid, I felt like Clutch's aggression early in those two in the match, those two games, I really think it throws teams off that are not used to seeing them play like that or playing against a team like that. And I think you saw it a little bit come back in the finals, where that early aggression was just put Liquid on its heels again, like it did with Clutch. Do you think it was that, or again, you said you didn't think that they really played? So kind of break it down for me.
Well, specifically game 2, CLG drafted Diana. Apparently that had been going great for them in scrimmages.
Right.
But that was supposed to be their counter to Kiana. And Power of Evil was obviously not that comfortable on Kiana in game 1 either. And so really, they were playing without Power of Evil for both of those games. And that's really, in this kind of solo lane and jungle focused meta, that's really a huge deal for me. If you're going to sit on your heels with your mid laner for 2 games, or if you're going to be like Clutch and sit on your heels with your top laner in the last 2 games, then I'm really not sure why you're drafting like this, because the solo laners are so much more impactful to the game right now than the AD carry is.
Right.
So when I say they didn't play, it's not that they weren't there, that they just weren't performing well. It's that Power of Evil specifically was way out of left field and not really interacting.
100 Talk says the Diana pick would have worked if they were able to give it enough support. You guys were able to prevent it from properly building up. What do you think?
I agree, but I was also seeing some stuff on Twitter where Diana just sort of falls off a cliff. She has this very strong mid-game power spike, and then after a certain point, 25, 30 minutes, she's just useless. And so because we were able to keep her from getting to that spike at the appropriate time, sure, she never really had an impact. But to have that kind of high-risk, high-reward assassin on Power of Evil who's traditionally a mage player, and who had great Orianna and Ahri games as well, it's just, it leaves me scratching my head. And sure, you can say that's trying new things, being aggressive when you have, or being aggressive with your pick strategy at least, when you have the games to give. But it just feels wrong. It feels like they weren't playing CLG; they were playing just CL or like LG, or it's like there was a really key part of it missing in those first two games.
Yeah. All right. So. All right, let's just dive right into it. Was it momentum when they lost game 3? It's like, that's fine, that's okay. But I felt like when they lost game 4, they hit tilt.
It's absolutely. This is where, and we'll discuss this more about the finals later. This is a game 5 choke, straight up. This was.
But hang on, we've had 2 game 5s in 2 weeks here that we can really talk about, and honestly, I thought they were both very similar in the way they went down. What did you think?
I agree. I totally agree. I think that the team has not been able to conquer their nerves when it comes to game 5. And I think that if they had closed it out, it would have had to have been in game 4. I said they weren't going to get the perfect sweep. They led through the Corki. Power of Evil picked it up in game 3. That's what sent us to game 4, straight up. That Corki pick was way too strong. We then banned it, and then we didn't have the same kind of tools that we needed that we had in games 1 and 2. We didn't have Lyra on a tank. We had Lyra on a brawler, on Silas. We didn't have Vulcan on a tank engager. We had him on an engager with Rakan, because that Xayah Rakan priority was so weird. But we didn't have him on a tank. So there was no front line for Cody Sun to stand behind. And then when Huni and Damonte weren't able to capitalize because CLG did a lane swap and put Mage against Karma top lane, and then Aatrox versus Kiana mid, it really kind of fell apart. And it's not that we didn't have the early advantages. We did. We had the opportunities to. But it's something that we saw in the regular split, where if you don't have Lyra on these tanks, on these super hard engaged frontliners, it looked bad after 15 minutes. It really did.
Well, so mental or draft, or is that interrelated is the game 5 problems?
I really think it's interrelated, because I don't think that it's all on player mentality either. I think the coaches might have gotten really nervous, both game 5s. Because both game 5s, there were just a couple of really weird draft, I'm going to call them draft errors. You let through Sona finally in game 5 against Liquid.
Oh my gosh. We talked right before that game, after the pick and ban, and you were just like, oh my, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. And it was bad. Yeah, you were right.
And then in game 5 here, we have counterpick for Huni, and suddenly we're playing Karma. Our super dominant top laner is put on a support. And you saved last pick for this. You saved counterpick. Like, this is the one thing you get on red side.
Yeah.
100 Talk, I do think it's a bit of a shallow champion pool issue. Not so much for Huni, but I am going to say for Damonte. Because Damonte...
That was one of the things that you tweeted out, is that you felt like that clutch has become predictable. And again, in a best of 5, it's a lot different situation than playing a one game...
One and done,
Well, one and done, and they've become predictable. And when you get them into that game 4 and that game 5, and you start knowing how to ban, and you learn what they like.
Yep.
They do have a little bit of a shallow pool.
It really is. And the thing that keeps coming back to me is that DeMonte has not played an AP laner at all in all of playoffs.
Yeah.
If there's a mage, it's going to Huni. And that terrifies me because Huni's great at Rumble. Rumble's a brawler, not a mage.
Yep.
When we see him on the top lane Azir, when we see him on the top lane Karma, or on the top lane Victor, Victor and Azir straight up lost. Karma did okay, but then it's a support champion. Huni is a carry. And I'm totally with the crowd in Detroit when the next day in finals, people were booing the Karma pick. Yes, please.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think there's 2 weeks for them to learn, 2 weeks for them to adapt, but I really don't think that you can come in with the same kind of have to play AP top laner game plan as you did this weekend. And I really think you got to close it out before you get to game 5. You can drop a game somewhere, but you can't drop 2 or else this team just crumbles.
Zach, that puts so much pressure, though. I mean, that just ramps up that pressure to do well in those early games. They've got to try to fix it.
They do so well in those early games. Yeah, but they dropped game 3 to TSM as well, and then finished it out in 4th.
I understand that, but I'm telling you, you get in again against these top tier teams. If they make it through, you're going to go to game 5. You better have something more up your sleeve than we saw in these 2 game 5s.
Yep, absolutely. I think that the level of adaptation from CLG was phenomenal. They adapted, and by game 5, they had the perfect answer to everything we were going to do.
Yep.
And honestly, that credit to CLG, and also credit to Biofrost, because he hard carried game 4. Straight up. All of his Thresh play was just so good. It came down to Power of Evil to put out the damage along with Ruin, but Biofrost was absolutely essential in game 3 and game 4.
And again, I agreed with him being the player of the series, didn't you?
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. If it hadn't been for him, it would have been over game 3 or game 4.
Yeah. All right, so speaking of that, and I don't know if there's anything else you want to throw at Dignitas or Clutch Gaming there, but the thing about it is you talked about CLG figuring it out. The team that learns and watches and reacts, since this is Overreaction Monday, the best I have ever seen, Liquid, the way that it seems like they analyze every game, every pick, and the next game they've learned from it already.
Yep.
And they're backing you into a corner, and I felt like they did that with Cloud9.
Yeah, and here's the difference that I'll say is that by the time game 5 rolled around, it wasn't Cloud9 choking. They didn't just roll over like we did.
Liquid. It's definitely them choking. Shut up, Aaron. No, shut up. But
all right, great. Yeah, no, alienate more of our audience, please. Go right ahead. Yep, it's been Piglet fans. Now it's our good friend Aaron McCunis. Like
he felt like, and I was like, well, support your conjecture, and he did. He gave some thoughts on it and everything. But I'm with you. I did not think it was C9 choking. I thought it was Team Liquid absolutely learning and just choking the life out of them in that last game.
Read them like a book. Really did.
100. We're right. We're going to put some pressure on Dignitas to get you that jersey. I promise.
There's a reason that I'm wearing the hoodie, man, instead of the jersey. I'm going to blame the mailman, but I don't know at this point. So, but yeah, no. Liquid by the end of it was reading Cloud9 like a book, and then playing Cloud9's style better than Cloud9. The finals were defined by who got the early advantage, who got the early pressure. There was not any kind of comeback like we saw with Game 3 to a little bit Game 4 in our series versus CLG, but whoever got the early pressure won the game straight up. It was competitive after that, oftentimes, but by the end of it, Liquid had turned it up to extra gear Liquid, like we've talked about this past spring finals too. Yep. So... Yep.
By the way, did you see Double Lift's comment about they just want better competition? What did you think of that?
I think that they have it. I really do. Before this year, Liquid was not pushed, was not pressured. If you look at the last two finals, then you'll see that, hey, they 3-0'd in spring, they 3-0'd in summer. They got took to game 5 by the hottest TSM we have seen in 2.5, 3 years.
Right.
And, well, not 2.5, 1.5 years. Sorry, over exaggerating on Overreaction Monday. But we've seen that was the best TSM that we've seen since franchising happened. You know, they got pushed all the way to game 5. Almost lost it too if it hadn't been a big throw by Sven. And then this series, they were pushed, they were pressured, they responded to it. They fought through it. In our series, they were pressured, responded, and fought through it.
Yep.
They've got their competition. It's like he was saying in the teaser, which I'm pretty sure that's what you're referencing here. He said, you know, I wasn't happy that Clutch took us to 5 games, but it was fun. I hope Cloud9 make it fun. That was really fun.
Well, except for the game 5s, it was a fun series. In both game 5s, I thought Liquid, absolutely the floor with everybody. So I saw an interesting tweet, and I wish I'd saved it now, but somebody was saying, hey, maybe the owner of Team Liquid should just buy that open slot from Echo Fox and have a second team to compete against their other team to see what happens. Overreaction Monday. Is it an overreaction to say that Team Liquid goes in now as one of the favorites for Worlds?
Maybe. Just maybe. I'm thinking that we've got SKT over in Korea looking just as dangerous as always. Faker tweeted, period. And then he followed up that period with, I'm going to Worlds. That's it. Man of very few words, Faker. But that is the unkillable Demon King sitting back in his chair at the top of Mount Olympus saying, hey, come at me. And
interested to know what people think in the comments. Do you think Liquid is one of the favorites for Worlds now? Let us know about that. In the meantime, said, I don't think coaching was the issue. I feel like the reliance on comfort picks and the subsequent champion pools are the primary factors. And I think we're all in agreement there. I think we're all seeing that trend. But a good comment nonetheless. So
right. Well, again, if your coach is saying let's play Karma in game 5, that's a coaching issue. If Hooney's the one saying I'm really terrified, I'm having a bad day, give me Karma, which I don't think Hooney would say that in a million years, if you ask me. So it feels like this was not something that it goes a little bit deeper than just champion pool issues here. So.
All right, so we're getting a little feedback here. Said, yeah, I think that's an overreaction. Team Liquid only beat a weekend IG.
That's right, back at MSI.
Yes, I kind of see that. But it's you know what? I again.
Okay. Well, no, this is Cole's following up. He's saying that G2 and Fnatic are both better overall, and that's just in the LEC. I was talking about SKT, but yeah, we got a couple real big competitors over the pond here, and that's going to be very, very dangerous. It's G2 Smurfs. Like they're playing at a level that other people can't really match, and I'm not sure if that's the competition of the LEC or if that's just how good they are right now. I think that's been the thing I struggle with most is just how good is the LEC right now. Fnatic, I think, is just a weaker version of G2 at the moment. Again, some games they just totally stomp people. Sometimes they just stomp G2. Sometimes they get stomped. It's really coin flippy over in Europe right now. And I think that those teams are definitely stronger, but it's just, are they going to be consistently stronger is the real question for me.
Yeah. In Cross, you had kind of the same thing I was trying to get across there, too, when they were talking about the weekend IG. At the time, like after it happened, everybody's like, oh, IG's weekend. But again, I don't think people were going into it thinking that. He brought up they were 9-1 in the group stage.
Yeah, it was much the same prediction people had for IG versus Liquid that people had for Clutch versus Liquid. Oh, they're getting 3-0. There's no way, you know.
Yeah. So, but it's just interesting that, again, you go into it with these preconceived notions, and especially when we get to that level where everybody's been playing, all the LEC teams have been playing each other, North America's been playing each other, Korea, whatever. And it's like to see those teams then cross-pollinate, all of a sudden they haven't seen a team like Cloud9, or they haven't seen a team like Clutch or CLG. And all of a sudden, somebody brought up, and again, I should start saving these. I'm not used to.
You really should.
Somebody brought up on Twitter that Clutch reminded them a lot of Flash Wolves from last year, and how Flash Wolves came in and kind of made a ruckus at Worlds, and they just wondered if Clutch might be able to do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I've seen the comparison to Flash Wolves. I've also seen the comparison to Vitality last year, where Vitality were not the best players, but they played super aggressive. They upset a lot of people because they were just more aggressive than anyone's ready for. I like those comparisons. It makes me feel good to enjoy those comparisons. I don't think they're accurate. I think that the world overall is a lot more ready for aggression. Maybe not Korea, but still, I think that just how the meta has evolved this year, aggression has been key. And I think you're seeing that the teams that are ready for it, CLG, Liquid, they're the ones that won out this weekend.
And Cross backed us up a little bit here. We did kind of skip past Gauntlet, but let's talk Gauntlet a little bit. What do you think there? What's your initial take there? Give me a hot take, Zach, on the Gauntlet.
Well, it's not this weekend. It's next weekend, first weekend of September here. But it's tough. We got to beat FlyQuest first. You can't underestimate them, although I'm going to when we go over this in our recorded podcast, which will actually be next week for the Gauntlet preview. You can't underestimate FlyQuest. CLG just beat you. And then this is TSM that's now going to have a month to incorporate Spica instead of a week and a half. So it's tough. Playing this Gauntlet from the bottom, it's possible. Cloud9's done it. Cloud9 has dominated the Gauntlet since the Gauntlet first existed. But this one, it looks a lot more tough, especially given that now we've lost 2 Game 5s in a row here.
Right, exactly, yeah.
People are saying we're going to go into the Gauntlet on a 3-game losing streak. And I'm like, oh, you can't think that way. That's total BS. But you are. You did lose 3-game streak.
Reverse swept there, so yeah. Anything else in the Gauntlet stand out to you? And again, we'll get into more of this. By the way, just throw in a plug here. We have a very special interview that's coming on Thursday as part of our recorded podcast.
Yep.
Can't give too many details right now, but we are so excited about this opportunity to get this person on the show and dig in a little bit and ask some questions. So
dig in. Spoiler.
Dig.
No, this was honestly, this interview that we're gonna have for Thursday was the highlight of my weekend this past weekend. Would not have been had we won, but since it's the highlight of my weekend now. Even better than the great chicken and biscuits. Just saying. That's a lot. That's a high bar. That's a high bar.
That is a high bar. So, all right. Gentlemen, I got to wrap up. I got to do some show prep for a radio show tomorrow morning after traveling most of the afternoon today and everything. So
I got to actually get some sleep because let me tell you, the hotel was okay, but it was just okay and did not sleep the best. So
well, glad you went though. You had a blast, and again, thanks to Dignitas and the hospitality they showed us while we were up there. And now we'll just work on getting those jerseys for us and for 100 Talk and all that. So we'll see if we can't get those jerseys on the way. All right.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Overreaction Monday. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate all the comments. Thanks, 100 Talk. In Cross, we appreciate it. Old Neckbeard, thank you.
You're just going to scroll up and read all the names, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I listen. I appreciate them taking time and sticking with us through the show. And I just wanted to give a shout out. Devious Scripter. Is that the way you say it?
Yep. Devia Scripter. You got this.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure. Okay. All right.
Something new and surprising every week with Dad. You never know what you're going to get when George comes on live air.
Hey, you can start doing this show all by yourself anytime you want to, pal.
All right, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys. See ya.